We gon' run it, hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Ay, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North talk. Let's go. Ay, AFC North talk.
Welcome back, AFC North Talk. Here we are. It's been a minute, by the way. Whew, it's been a minute. I was talking to the family. Man, I feel like I haven't streamed forever. I miss everybody. Shout out to everybody here. I know free agency's been popping for some teams. We're going to go through all the signings. There's going to be a couple of teams that are going to be very, very quick. And there are others that we have more to talk to.
Real quick, Sonny, check your audio settings. Make sure that it's coming out of your mic because it doesn't feel like it's coming out your mic. I think you're getting your camera audio here.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Whoa.
Not just me.
Everybody having some audio issues.
By the way, shout out to Ace. He looking extra shiny today.
Oh, he sure is.
Yeah, my boy is shining. He's shining. Look, he got that glow. He got that Jamar Chase about to get $45 million glow.
Oh no! And shout out to your newest quarterback, Q. He's right there. There's a little quick preview of what he'll look like in the.
It's all fun and games until he beats the Steelers.
If he does that, I'm launching myself off the Clemente Bridge.
and if he beats the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and then like Pittsburgh fans are like kind of simping for him after it. Yeah,
yeah, because there's still gonna be if that does happen, if and when. There's going to be like a section of the most annoying Steelers fans you've ever met in your life. We're going to be like, see,
at Heinz,
shouldn't have traded him. I'm like, oh, Christ,
no,
I got to deal with it.
They're going to be at Heinz, Jared, and at the end of the game, they're going to be like, can you fake it?
Oh, my God.
Do I sound better? Or still the same?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a quick super chat here. Shout out to you, David Miner. Welcome back. I appreciate all the hard work. Please change the draft together if you can. Well, we will be coordinating that. We've been doing it in the past couple of years. So let's talk about the teams because we have 4 teams to go with different outcomes and phrases. And I'm going to go whatever the order here. So I'll start with Baltimore Ravens because I guess it's the first one. Ravens have been doing a lot of shit. We've been peak. We signed Ronnie Stanley, which now after what Moore got, the left tackle from the Steelers, looks like a hell of a deal. Not that the deal looked bad. But 3 years, $60 million. I think that was very, very good. The Ricard deal.
I think Dan Moore got more than Ronnie Stanley did, which is hilariously just. Whoever his agent is, I'm gonna have him represent me on a few things to see if he can get me just a few extra bucks. Because good Lord,
does this make you feel good about the Tennessee Titans' new general manager?
It shouldn't. You're a Titans fan. I'd be sweating a little bit right now.
That's like the big move. Like, it's, hey, man, it's free agency. It's my first free agency. I got to show these people that I got the city of Tennessee on my back. The state of Tennessee on my back. Nashville, let's bring Dan Moore here for $20.5 million a year.
Yeah.
3 years guaranteed.
That's crazy.
That's nuts. That's ridiculous. That is.
Pat Ricard.
That smells like a team that might actually make the mistake of taking Cam Ward #1, which is cool.
We'll be talking about all that soon. But Pat Ricard signs also took a pay cut from last year.
Yes.
To stay, I think he's getting like $2.6 million, I think it was. And then the new signing, the shiny toy that Lamar has, very shiny, very new into the league, DeAndre Hopkins. We got him like 5 years too late. Not too late. No, let me rephrase that.
Ain't nothing shoddy on DeAndre Hopkins anymore, dog. What you talking about?
That's most Ravens players. Whenever you guys get somebody, it's usually Dez Bryant.
I was gonna say I saw somebody tweet a picture of the Dez Bryant in a Ravens jersey. That made me laugh.
Odell Beckham Jr. It's Ravens.
No, by the time he got there, he was Odell Beckham II. Okay.
My hope is the deal is a $6 million, right? It's only $6 million, so they didn't break the bank. And I like when they did Odell Beckham, which they gave him definitely too much money. It's not bad. Can he be like Steve Smith when Steve Smith came to the Ravens? That would be fantastic. I like the signing. I want
He
to.
wasn't even Steve Smith with Pat Mahomes last year, though. Like,
I know. I agree.
Well, let's hope he's not doing all of what Steve Smith is doing with the Ravens, because apparently he's doing a little bit too much down there.
Well, we can't talk about that. Ravens have been losing some players. One went to division opponent. We'll talk about him soon. But Brandon Stevens, I know Ravens fans are very excited for him to leave. I think he played well for being a late third round pick. He was good. Obviously, he was flawed. He got a lot of money. Talk about a guy that got paid. Brandon Stevens got paid by the Jets. The other guy that we lost was Pat McCarry, another guy that got paid a $13 million. I think he got per year for 3 years, and the rest were just more rotational players. So nothing really crazy happening for the Ravens side. So any comments other than making fun of the Ravens for signing another 30-plus-year-old player? Hey,
no.
Well, Ronnie was 30 by the time they re-signed him too, right?
Yeah, but Ronnie, Ronnie has been like, but I'm saying more because of Hopkins.
It's crazy how that one ACL injury really just changed the trajectory of Ronnie Stanley's career. Because now he's in that mid-level left tackle, but he was like one of the best for a while. I mean, the Ravens had a very Raven-like offseason so far, signed a couple of old guys, lost a couple of young guys, right? Like, this is basically what Eric DeCosta has done with Baltimore. We know Baltimore, look, they don't mess up in March or April or September or October or November or December. We know that Baltimore usually tends to mess up around January, right? Like, that's usually when Baltimore, the cracks in the foundation show for them. But yeah, this is going to be another year where they make some solid moves. They probably get younger in tight end in the draft, right? I would imagine similar philosophy with running back, right? Because you got to get younger. Well, I don't know. Didn't you guys draft a running back a couple years ago?
We drafted one last year. But we did. I see us.
Mitchell's there too. I would say y'all love them big slow guys. So like Ollie Gordon in the 5th or 6th makes a ton of sense.
Big slow guys.
I think they might get like a. Remember, we have 4. We had Keaton Mitchell, which coming from a very bad injury last year. He played very little. Justice Hill, which is Dax Hill's brother. Yeah. And then the other guy we have is Ali. That was the guy we drafted last year.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to move. You're gonna have to get younger than Mark Andrews pretty soon here, which sounds crazy.
I wonder if they trade Mark Andrews.
That's the rumor, because remember they have Isaiah's likely. He's in his 3rd year. Yeah. So they have 2 young tight ends behind Andrews. So I don't necessarily think they need to get a tight end, because Likely has played better, especially without Andrews. When I'm just
they have Likely already, which makes me feel like they're not going to go feigning. But I'm like, it would be a pretty seamless transition from like Gunnar Helm, right? Gunnar Helm in the 3rd for Baltimore makes a lot of sense there.
Yeah, again, it all depends what they end up doing. Andrews. There's a rumor out there that they're looking to trade/cut him because they need some cap relief.
He's such a Rams tight end waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I just think, like Q was saying, you guys run so much 12 personnel over there. It has to be somebody else that you guys bring in addition to Likely being there. Now, I don't know I know you guys got Kolar, but I haven't heard much of him since he's been drafted.
He's been okay, but he's behind both of those 2, right? So he's like the 3rd guy.
Do you think he could step up in this role? Like, you guys move on from Mark Andrews, or
the problem with Kolar is you look at him hard and then he gets injured. That's the biggest problem with Charlie Kolar. He gets injured a lot. I think he's good when he's in there, but he gets injured a lot. And best abilities availability. That's the problem with Kolar, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I think from the Ravens' perspective, I think you guys had a solid offseason. It seems like lately kind of the approach has been to not really do too much first week. You guys might have one signing. Sometimes you guys, if I'm not mistaken, don't do anything. You kind of concentrate on the guys that you guys have there. And then you guys have had, it seems like, crazy luck when it comes to getting veterans on the market. So generally, you guys get some decent production out of them. There have been some misses in there, but for the most part, you guys get pretty decent production from them. This DeAndre Hopkins thing is interesting because I think, like Q said, if there was any offense for him to be able to thrive in, you would think it would be with Pat Mahomes and with Andy Reid, and he just didn't do much there. It'll be interesting.
That whole offense didn't do anything last year, right? Like one thing is that was one of the, was it the only team or one of the very few teams that didn't score 30?
30 that often, yeah. They didn't score 30 that often. And he was supposed to help with that, but we'll see where he's at. But, I mean, you didn't make any bad moves, per se, in free agency. You didn't do anything that was questionable. You haven't really had anybody leave. Mark Andrews is still there for now. There were some rumblings about Marlon Humphrey. I don't know how legit those really were in terms of that. But, you know, Baltimore is still Baltimore as it stands right now.
So, Ace, you telling me they about to go to Ollie's? That's what you telling me? They go into Plato's closet?
Yeah, they go to Plato's closet. They go and get somebody out there. No,
they don't do Black Friday shopping. They do the 2 weekends after Black Friday after people start returning shit. Right?
That's what the budget has.
Eric got to be at that Goodwill. Like, it's some good stuff in here.
Hey, as long as it works. Garrett, any comments on the Ravens offseason or the lack of offseason so far?
Yeah, I mean, somewhat quiet, but I mean, they obviously did the smart thing in bringing back Stanley. That made sense. As soon as Kyle Juszczyk got released, they signed Patrick Ricard. A little bit more on Kyle Juszczyk here in a minute. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's been fine. And I think, like, we can joke about DeAndre Hopkins all we want. I think having him as like the second option or third option, maybe behind Bateman and Flowers, I think, like, you know, this lets him age gracefully into being that kind of guy rather than him being, you know, the number one option in the offense. So, I mean, it does make sense and it could work a little bit. I don't expect him to put up huge numbers. You know, DeAndre Hopkins is about to have the most talked about 36 catch season we've ever seen. Like, it's just going to be a very he's going to limp into, he's not going to be horrible, but, like, you know,
every game they're on NBC, Mike Tirico's like, you know, they got that impact out of Derrick Henry last year. Could this be a very similar thing? The Ravens are looking for it to be a very similar thing. And it's like, he's going to have like 700 yards.
I just hope that we don't do the thing with D-Hop that we did with Odell Beckham Jr. for like 4 years, where like he plays fine. Like he's not horrible, but he's not good. And we do this like Odell Beckham Jr. watch. And then a team is dumb enough to give him $18 million. And it's like, all right, well, I guess that's why we keep doing it, because he's still getting paid. So I almost said I hope DeAndre Hopkins has a good year, but, you know, being a Steelers fan, that'd be kind of oxymoronic to say that. So I think being like option 2B or, you know, just flat out option 3 in the offense would probably be good for him. And yeah, we'll see what it looks like in due time. But overall, I mean, uneventful at large for Baltimore, but, you know, productive in the right ways.
By the way, and then Pierce retired yesterday or the day before. Yep. Big Pierce,
greatest defensive back in Ravens history.
That will live forever. That interception. Okay, let's move on to the Cleveland Browns now, which is the next one that I have here. They get a quarterback. Kenny.
We're not about to do this to them. The biggest thing they did this free agency was bring back Myles Garrett.
Oh, wait. I'm going for the last here. This is for CBS, right? They traded for Kenny Pickett. Retained Myles Garrett 4 years, 160 large. Signed Malik Collins, 220. Signed tackle Cornelius Lucas, 2 years, 10. Edge Joe Tryon, and I can't pronounce the other name.
Shayanka.
He was not there when he got drafted, so I believe that is a new thing, right?
Okay. And then Steelers' favorite linebacker, Devin Bush, stays with Cleveland for 1 year, 3.25.
I can't believe I'm saying it, but like that's good for the Browns. Devin was actually good last year. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like,
especially with JOK still up in the air, right?
Wearing that disgusting number 32. Like it was like, wow, he was out there in 30 playing linebacker, doing well. Look, bringing back Myles here was the most important thing, right? Getting that whole deal settled. Anybody who's followed the Browns over the last few years knew that they weren't going to budge on this, right? This isn't the Browns of old where we just kind of kneel to whatever a player wants or fold into public pressure. They weren't going to ever consider trading him. I remember the day this stuff came out, Andrew Berry was at the Senior Bowl smiling at like me and Jared walked past him that day. He's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh, so he really don't even care. He's not about to trade him. But yeah, so they get this Miles thing done. Cool. That's awesome. The Kenny Pickett trade. Look, man, I don't like Kenny Pickett.
I thought about you. I thought about our meme that is out there.
Yeah. I don't like Kenny Pickett. Like, I don't think Kenny Pickett's good. But what I've always been consistent, even though Steeler fans have falsely accused me of trolling, is comparing Kenny Pickett to Colt McCoy, a backup quarterback in the NFL. I thought that was more the path than the Kirk Cousins path for Kenny Pickett. And I think a Colt McCoy-ish career for Kenny Pickett's about where he's settling in, which is like a upper tier backup, right? Somebody who has proven that he can at least avoid you from losing if he starts at quarterback, which he has done for Pittsburgh a couple of times. And he did it for Philadelphia as well. So if the plan is for him to be a backup and you didn't want to spend, get an incentive deal that could go up to $10 million potentially on a guy, so you wanted to just trade the fifth and get Kenny cheap under his rookie deal for like 2.36, then fine. I don't really have too much of a problem with that. If we're rolling into week one and Kenny Pickett's the starter, well, then I know we're drafting Kate Klubnik next year. So, I'll be fine with it eventually. Or Lenore Sellers, or the plan is that we're just completely avoiding this class entirely. If we go in with the quarterback room with Cam Ward and Kenny Pickett, I'm going to hope it works, but man, I'm going to be mad about it. I'm not going to have too much faith in that. But yeah, if Kenny is the backup, it's fine. It's just, it's Kenny Pickett, dog. Like, why you gonna make me have to say nice things about Kenny Pickett? What if he plays well in the preseason? Now I got to hear people talk about.
He won't play well in the preseason. Don't worry. You won't have to worry about that. Eagles fans found that out the hard way.
He is not.
They were begging for Tanner McKee. They're like, oh God, I don't know. Like a quarter and a half of Kenny Pickett. Eagles fans like, yeah, Tanner McKee's definitely the second best quarterback on this roster right now.
Yeah. Now I am worried about the smoke and mirrors Kevin can put around a dude like Kenny Pickett, making him look better than he is and giving us some false confidence in the offseason here. I mean, if Kenny's just there to be a backup, sure, whatever. It's gross. I'm not gonna like looking at it, but whatever, man. I get it. It's a shitty year to rebuild a quarterback room, and your options are going to be shitty. We're interviewing Russ, dog, and I'm not even like.
Can you imagine, Q, how funny it would be if Kenny Pickett thinks he has a chance at starting at another place, and for the second straight year, Russell Wilson comes in and says, "What are you going to do?
Request a trade? Your fate was inevitable."
He just walks in. Hulk Hogan's it. That's not going to work for me, brother.
You know what I'm rooting for? I'm rooting for.
It would be like if Horace Hogan was like, "This ain't gonna work for me." Okay, well, show it the fucking work, Horace. Like, what?
I'm rooting for the no team trade where the Browns already have, the Browns get Wilson and Steelers get Winston.
No,
you don't got to worry about that.
Somebody texted me that covers the Steelers the other day. It was like, hey, if you guys sign Russ, we got to trade for Watson, make it right.
Nah, this is crazy because it seems like every quarterback, literally, Q has had some kind of rant on.
Hey, somebody gave Daniel Jones $12 million guaranteed this offseason. That's what it made. That's what I came to my piece with this Kenny Pickett trade. Because I was like, you know what? I definitely didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's just crazy because the Kirk Cousins might possibly be one.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson. That's my realistic options right now. Yeah, it's like it's just going to be one of those years at quarterback. I have accepted it. There is no option here. It's going to feel great.
I think for the Browns, you guys had a great offseason in terms of keeping Myles Garrett, right? That was the biggest thing that you needed to do. You talk about the franchise cornerstone. So making sure that he stayed just makes sure that the Browns are going to be competitive, especially when it comes to hitting that reset button. Miles isn't going to allow them to kind of really hit that reset button, even though he's getting paid $40 million a year, but it's with the caveat that the Browns are going to have to try to be competitive in some form or fashion. So I think that
40 doesn't hit until 2027. It's still base salary until 2020 for 2025, 2026. 2027 is also the year we get off the Watson contract.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, just make sure that they have something going there from that aspect, and then it also makes sure that you don't hit like a total reset or anything like that. It also probably keeps guys like Denzel Ward and stuff like that around. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. Yeah, the only way it went bad was when we got the Kenny Pickett notification, but that's clearly not going to be their answer. That cannot be their answer at quarterback. I refuse to believe that. So we'll see what they do there. The draft is going to be interesting for them to see what options that they do there. Do they go quarterback? Do they try to get this veteran? It's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do. But the biggest thing for them this offseason was keeping him. Nick Chubb is out there. I don't know if he's going to be on the way back or not. How they replace Nick Chubb, whether it be through the draft, whether it be with guys on the roster, it'll be interesting to see. And then bringing back Devin Bush, I thought that was pretty interesting. What are things looking like with JOK? Because I heard his injury is pretty serious from that standpoint.
Nobody really knows. Like from what I know, he's not like in like a wheelchair or anything like that, right? Like he's able to move around, live life normally. Though we're just not sure about his ability to be cleared to play yet. But it might be like a nerve damage thing where it's like you can't really, it's not something you can put on a timeline, but it's not going to be career ending. I don't get the vibe that this has been a career ending injury for him.
Okay. Yeah. So bringing Bush back is just at least some insurance there. So that makes sense. And I think for now, like the Cleveland Browns kept Myles Garrett. That was the most important move of the offseason, I think, for them. And they were able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the stuff with Miles was, I mean, obviously, like very selfishly, I wanted him to go to a place like Buffalo, so my Lord and Savior Joshua Patrick Allen could have a great shot at a Super Bowl. And then Andrew Berry crapped on my dreams. So obviously, it makes sense to keep Miles around if you're the Browns. A, it's good for business. From a player perspective, he's arguably the best edge rusher in football right now. And B, he's still, not yet 30. He's still got a lot of great football in front of him. And if they can get the quarterback position right, then you have Miles still there to be able to build upon that. So I get it. I was disappointed selfishly, but it makes sense from a Browns perspective, obviously, to do that. I've already said all the goofy stuff about Kenny, so I'm not going to go too far into that. But if there is a God in heaven that can hear me, if I can get Kenny Pickett starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns for an entire season, I would be very thankful for it. I think of the quarterback position for them, though. I think it's, I've said it before. I think it's going to be.
What if he has a Baker Mayfield like reclamation, Jarrett?
if Kenny Pickett has a Baker Mayfield like resurrection, and the fact that he throws 40 touchdowns in a year, I don't know what I'll do. I'll do something though, because it's not going to happen.
Jackson, you'll run in the lake in the wintertime.
Do like the polar plunge thing.
Yeah.
We'll make it better. If Kenny Pickett throws 40 touchdowns, I will go to Cleveland and do the polar plunge.
You hear it here first, guys.
This is the easiest bet of my life.
No, you're probably good.
I'm probably pretty safe there.
Yeah, he's not going to throw 40. He's going to throw 50.
I don't. I do.
Pony just like do the 180 heel turn on Kenny Pickett. I was like, I heard this man compare him to Pat Mahomes and Joe Burrow.
He sure did. Dude, I remember after his rookie year, they did some. This is why I muted him. I don't know Pony personally, but I was like, all right, this is enough of this. They did something where they're like, yeah, we were trying to list quarterbacks we would take over Kenny Pickett for, the next 10 years. I can only name 3. I'm like, all right, bro, that's enough. We're done. We're done with this. We're not doing this anymore. So
dog, 2 years later, he's out here like, LOL Brown.
Yeah.
He traded for the guy.
He's
right. It is funny that the Browns traded for him, but like he's not the one that can laugh at it.
Exactly. I do think that it will be Kirk for them. I've said that for a little bit. It just makes sense with the connective tissue with Kevin Stefanski, their time together in Minnesota. He wants to go somewhere where he has a chance to start. And I think that Cleveland makes the most sense, especially if it's a situation where he just gets released and they can sign him to a new deal, not have to take on whatever his current contract is with Atlanta. But that makes the most sense to me from a Browns perspective. I don't know. Browns fans seem to really want Joe Flacco to come back. That just seems like a little bit of
don't listen to those.
Like I've seen the every fan base has them, and that I've seen a fair share of them from the Browns. Like
it's crazy though, like because like there's the diehard Joe Flacco in the Baltimore fan base. There are the people who are like, "Y'all are too mean to Andy Dalton" in the Bengals fan base, and I don't even want it. Like, is it Kenny Pickett for y'all's? Like, who's the current?
We'll get into it very shortly. Who it is for us for this fan base?
Mason.
What happens with Schupp? I haven't heard anything in the case of Schupp.
From what I hear, they're trying to get like the NFL version of a mid-level exception on him. And for that to happen, he needs to be on the market a certain amount of time.
Okay.
So I think they're waiting that out. I think that's why you're not really hearing much serious interest in him, because teams kind of know that Cleveland are going to match any low-level offer you give them.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, I haven't heard that he getting even.
He's like on a unofficial transition tag, basically.
Gotcha. Okay, let's go now to the Bengals. The Bengals are interesting. They actually have signed a bunch of players. T. Higgins is franchise tag again. B.J. Hill, by the way, I think I said when B.J. Hill came back last year, he was destroying. When we played them and B.J. Hill was in that game, that's the guy that I was always noticing in that game. B.J. Hill was leading in our backfield. Mike Gesicki, 3 years, 25.5. Osai comes back on a 1-year deal. Cody Ford, Ace's favorite, comes back here. Oren Burke, 2 years, 5. Cornerback, Marco Wilson, 1 year, 1.52. Tanner Hudson, 1 year. Long snapper, Adamides or
Adamitis.
Okay.
Hey, Jared, are you free this summer?
Am I free this summer?
Are you free this summer? Because me and you, we could go try out the edges on the Bengals.
We could, yeah, we may as well.
But look, they brought back Amaje.
Look, if the Bengals need a 5'8", $155 guy coming off the edge, I'm ready.
He's got bend.
and they also signed Slayton to 2 years, 15.1. Now, all these, there are a couple of good signings in my opinion here, Ace. A lot of marginable players signed, more depth players than anything, as what it sounds to me.
Retired, right?
Yeah,
retired.
The question here is, Myles Garrett's deal affects the Bengals in the fact twofold. With
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase wanted to be the highest non-quarterback pay. Well, now it's 40. Now it's 40 plus. Before it was whatever Jetta was making. I can't remember. But now it's 40. And then you have your own outside pass rusher that he has requested a trade. What I heard, and you probably know more than I do, the Bengals are requesting a first for him. I don't see nobody getting a first plus a deal. I thought a third.
You don't have to give him like 35, right?
So here's the thing about that. His representation. So what the Bengals did was they gave him permission to seek a trade, very similar to what Matt Stafford kind of did with the Rams. His representation said that they could get a first-round pick in return for Trey Hendrickson.
No way.
So now, of course, the Bengals are like, all right, if I'm trading you somebody with 17.5 sacks, and his agent is saying that he can get a first-round pick for me, that's what we want.
Yeah, I think a third
Buffalo
to pay.
I mean, if I was the Bills, I would do it. Mostly because they just don't draft well at the top of the draft. Like if you look at their first and second round picks since Josh Allen, they do not draft well at the top. So you may as well just give up a first.
They got an all-time guys I don't like team, and like some of those guys have worked out, but like it's like with Gregory Rousseau or something.
Gregory Rousseau, Boogie Basham's not with the team anymore. AJ Epinesa, Keon Coleman, like they've had just a bunch of like.
I like Keon. That's the one guy they've drafted. I've been like, oh yeah, I like Keon at least.
It's just been a lot of just.
If you have a late first, that's really a second. I would if I were a team that was like in a championship window or something, I wouldn't have any problem like parting with that. Like,
would you take 33
with the 29th pick? Like, I would just give that up for Trey Hendrickson.
Would you take 33? We compare him up with Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett. See what happens when we
They would trade to the division. But
they wouldn't. Nah, absolutely not. For the Bengals, it's more of a meh. It's like a meh offseason. And I think the fact is the three most important guys still are not resolved. So you don't have a resolution with Jamar Chase. You don't have a resolution with T. Higgins. You don't have a resolution with Trey Hendrickson. And the part about it that I think is the worst is because a lot of this stuff was kind of self-inflicted. No one told Duke Tobin to go out at the combine and say that he wanted to make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. I don't know why he would do that, especially
Andrew Berry heard that. He's like, what was that?
I don't know why you would do that. I don't know why the expectation is that these contracts aren't going to go up. I don't know why you're waiting on the T. Higgins situation, because then you end up having situations where that market is starting to explode, especially with DK getting a new deal. So to me,
DK
it's just
30?
He's getting 30. It's just frustrating because they could have literally saved themselves money if they would have just done these deals earlier instead of sticking to their guns and saying, oh, we'll just push it down the road. And now you're in a situation where instead of possibly 2 years ago paying $22 million for T. Higgins, now you're going to have to pay $30. With Jamar Chase, you could have paid him last year. You could have paid him 35, 36. You didn't. And then, of course, he goes out and gets the Triple Crown, proves that he should be the highest paid receiver. And then not only do you not say, oh, we're going to make him the highest paid receiver, you say that we're going to make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. So, of course, he wants more on top of that. So now you're going to have to pay $41, $42 million. And some people are like, oh, it's not a big deal because the salary cap goes up. Look, dog, the numbers are still the numbers. Like, if the salary cap moved up, you still would have been paying a lesser price, and it would have been an even better deal for you if you did it earlier than later. And then the other thing is,
and it's not like Jamar Chase was a mystery, right? Like, that's the thing. Like, I get it if it's some dude, like he has one good year, but Jamar Chase was drafted to be this.
Yep.
It's Jamar Chase. What is there to think about? Give him a check, tell him to write whatever amount on it. Like, it's Jamar Chase. Like, these things, like,
that's the dude you get done pretty much the year it's eligible, right? Like,
the Bengals have this thing where they are worried about situations that have happened in the past. Antonio Brown, where they signed a guy who never ended up playing for him. They spent all the money on him. Geno and Carlos, they ended up extending them past 30. It didn't go well with Geno Atkins. I still felt like, honestly, Carlos Dunlap was still a solid player. He just wanted to go somewhere else because the Bengals were obviously rebuilding, and he didn't get along with Lou Anarumo. So they just have this thing where it's like, oh, we don't want to invest. And it's like, dog, it's Jamar Chase. It's the easiest thing. But even with Joe Burrow, it took them literally up until the last day before the NFL season is getting ready to kick off for them to announce that at that point. And honestly, it's just frustrating from that standpoint because it's like, dog, I am tired of talking about Trey Hendrickson, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Now with the Trey Hendrickson situation, you have people that are in on him, but you don't want to part for anything less than the value. That's the thing that's going to have to get hashed out now because his agent told him that he could do that. Now it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. Right now, they're only on the books with Trey Hendrickson for $18 million. I think if you want to rectify the situation, you have to give him a pay bump for the year and let him go. But at this point, you didn't spend any money really at edge. The other thing is Duke Tobin went out and said, I'm not paying more money for the same football team. And what did we get in free agency? Literally the same exact team with maybe a different shoelace with TJ Slayton and Oren Burks, who is a special teamer who you think is really going to replace Jermaine Pratt. Like, I don't know what they are thinking about this team. It is not showing that this is a team that is looking to compete. It looks like a team that wants to just put everything on Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase and these guys can figure it out. We had one of the worst defenses last year. I'm not seeing any new faces. Like, shout out to everything. There was a time to shake this defense up and inject some new faces into it, try some things. This was the season. They are not doing it. They are pretty much taking the same approach to the defense that they had last season. They didn't attack anything in the secondary. which I thought that they'd at least consider bringing somebody in. You don't have Mike Hilton anymore. He's currently a free agent. They didn't bring in any kind of nickel corner. Guard. I was happy when they got rid of Alex Cappa. Like, I was happy that they did that. But Cody Ford and oh my God, like, what are they doing? What are they doing right now? Like, Cody Ford is the answer, dog. Like, they cannot be serious.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing was they announced an extension with Jackson Kirkland. Like, I was like, Bengals Twitter is trolling us, dog. They are trolling us right now, talking about, we just re-signed Jackson Kirkland. Like, dog, you cannot be telling me that you guys are really thinking of having a battle with Cordell Bolston, Jackson Kirkland, and Cody Ford. And we need 2 guards, not 1. We need 2. And these are the guys that you have, like Tevin Jenkins.
So 2 of those guys are going to get a job.
That is the only way that they rectify this, is try to bring in Tevin Jenkins. And you still got to draft a guard early in this draft. I've been dealing with the guard situation since the Super Bowl, honestly, since Kevin Zeitler. Kevin Zeitler has been on multiple teams, and the Bengals still
have there this year.
A guard issue. He's been on the Ravens. He's been on the Browns.
Lions.
He's making a world tour, and the Bengals still have not rectified.
He on the Titans right now, huh?
Lost. Like, and that's why I'm like, I don't believe that the Bengals are able and capable of replacing players, and I'm not going to believe in it. And this whole like thing of we don't want to guarantee money. Like, welcome to 2025. You have to guarantee the second year. I don't care what you did in the past. I don't care if you want to front load the contracts, give people extra money. People don't want that. It's just not what they want anymore. And the Bengals just don't appear to want to do that. I don't know why they don't have a problem, why they have a problem giving T. Higgins the money he wants, but they don't have a problem giving BJ Hill 3 years for $33 million. I don't understand it. Like, give it to the players that matter. Give it to the Trey Hendricksons of the world. You got Trey Hendrickson out here on local stations wearing his Bengals jersey, bro, begging for you guys to sign him. And you're just sitting there like, no, I don't think I will. We're going to stare down and have a staring contest and try to figure this out. Like, dog, get these situations resolved. The longer that you guys wait, the higher the price goes, the more likelihood that you're going to have to get rid of these guys. And, dog, it's Jamar Chase. Give him what he wants. He is a top 3 player in the NFL. Give him what he wants. Like, I don't understand what the Bengals are doing. I don't know if they think that they're playing hardball. Like, bro, they got to get something done. This free agency, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to keep it a buck. Yeah, we kept all of these players. Like Sonny said, they're backup and mid players. They are not guys that are going to have an instant impact. Outside of maybe BJ Hill. I don't know if he's watching the show. BJ, I think he's all right. I think he's like, if you're talking in Madden terms, he's a 78. It's not bad. He's not good. He's
like some all white Air Force Ones with some fresh laces. You know,
this podcast that's like, man, that BJ Hill guy, man, got a game plan for him. Like, nobody's game planning for BJ Hill right now. Like,
he's part of a good on a D line. You need a BJ Hill.
He's a solid guy. Don't get me wrong. I don't want him to take this the wrong way if he's watching the show or something like that. But he cannot be the only guy there. You had him. You had Chris Jenkins. You still need a pass rushing 3 tech. You haven't had one since, honestly, Larry Ogunjobi and Geno Atkins fell off a cliff. You haven't had one. So you still have that need. So we'll see what the Bengals do, man. But this is honestly the worst free agency that I've seen from them in quite some time. It is not good. The Duke Tobin, I don't even know why Duke Tobin came out and said all of that, because they've literally done the exact opposite of anything that he said.
That is a certified not cooking grade from Ace or Duke Tobin. The thing I don't get about the Bengals is, like,
what are they
we make a lot of jokes about how the Bengals don't got cash like that. But you would think if you don't got cash like that, you're not trying to buy the airplane ticket right before the plane goes off. And that's what they keep doing. It's like, nah, we going to wait to see what happens with Jamar Chase. Like, what were they waiting for? The market to go down on Jamar Chase? Like, that was never going to happen. And to Ace's point, not only if you sign him earlier, do you get him for a lower number over time, but think about it like this. You would have had a 2-year delay because he still has, the 2 years left on his contract last year. So you would have had a 2-year delay on the extension hit, right? So it'd have been 35 starting next year. That is a bargain for Jamar Chase. By the time you get to that deal, is getting him at 35. Like, no disrespect to DK. DK is really good, but Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase, right? Like, it would be a bargain for him at that number. And the thing is with Jamar is he's one of those players I see similar like a Myles Garrett, where it's like, yeah, if you got to reset the market for him, it's worth it, right? Like the guys who get the market reset after might be questionable, but resetting the market for Jamar Chase, that's who cares how much he gets paid. He's Jamar Chase. I promise you it's better to have him on your team than not. And that's the player that you don't wait to extend and you say, okay, how much is out there? Let's go a little bit above that. Let's get this deal done. Like maybe it might be a cash thing because they did have to put $230 in the bank for Joe Burrow in escrow. So maybe they just didn't want to go back to back on that. But you got to find a way, brother. This is the NFL, dog. Like you gotta squander up the money. Like you can't not do that for that reason. And even this Trey Hendrickson thing, it feels like it could have been handled last year if you would have when the first trade request happened. It is like, what did he want last year? Like 20 or something, 22 or something?
He just wanted more years. You probably could have got like 25. He just wanted more years. And they were like, no, they weren't giving him more years because they have this aversion to players when they turn 30, except this offseason it went away. They extended Mike Gesicki. They extended BJ Hill with them being 29. So,
and that begs this question about the Bengals, right? Like, what's the direction here? Or is this a all-in? Joe Burrow is in his prime. Let's go out and make these risky moves to win a championship window team. Or is this a team that's like, hey, we need to get younger. We need to get cheaper. We need to reload here around Joe Burrow. Or is this a team that's trying to do both? And I don't even think like they're directionally clear enough to know if they're doing both. It just kind of feels like let's be good enough so Joe Burrow doesn't request a trade. Like it feels like that is what they're trying to maintain is let's not be so bad that he pulls a Carson Palmer on us. Let's be like, let's win 11 games. Let's make the playoffs. Let's see if Joe can Superman this way all the way to a Super Bowl. But other than that, dog, like we're not going to be aggressive around the edges. We're not going to, make a clear jump in one direction or the other. Like the T. Higgins thing, like they're still waffling on this T. Higgins thing. Why are you waffling? Either you're saying, hey, let's just go all offense. Let's pay a bunch of money for our offense. Hope that carries us and build around that. But you're doing stuff like that. And then you have your offensive line in disarray, which I don't know what you're going to do with two receivers. They're going to make a bunch of money if Joe Burrow can't ever stay upright enough to get them. And then you have a pass rush on the other side, which might just give up points like crazy because you have nothing. Like who's the best player on the Bengals defense right now? Logan Wilson?
Yep. That's pretty, yep.
Yeah, this ain't the Logan Wilson that went to the Super Bowl, right? Like this is 2 years after that Logan Wilson. This is just you lost some key pieces here, right? You lost what's the safety's name y'all lost to Atlanta? I was a hater.
Jesse Bates.
Jesse Bates. I was wrong on that. He was actually really good. You lost Jesse Bates. Like you've lost key pieces defensively. Last year, DJ Reader, right? Like you keep losing these guys on defense that suggests to me that you're not really trying to go all in here. And like, what's the plan here? What's the strategy? That's all I want to see out the Bengals. The thing that's frustrating about it is you got all the hard shit done. You found a guy like Jamar Chase. You have a quarterback like Joe Burrow. That's the hard. The Browns are literally like going through about to start Kenny Pickett and Kirk Cousins because we are searching for what you have there. But then you have that and you're like, let's fuck around with everything else. Right. And I don't get it. I just don't understand why the Bengals are like this. And like we could make all the jokes about, they're broke. That's why they do this. Nah, man, that's not even an excuse because you could do this well within spending normal amounts of money for an NFL team. We're not asking you to be the San Francisco 49ers or the Philadelphia Eagles or the Cleveland Browns spend $330 million in cash on the team every year. We understand y'all ain't got it like that, but like y'all not doing regular shit. Like this is regular shit. And it it makes no sense because this is a team that if they were a little bit more aggressive, you would assume would be very close to winning a Super Bowl, given that this is the only team in the AFC so far that has gotten past Pat Mahomes since he's won those 2 rings. Well, since before he won those 2 rings. So, yeah, Tom Brady's out, right? That was the last guy who beat him, right? Tom Brady, when he was on the fucking Patriots. So it's incredible to me that you have accomplished that. You're the one team in the AFC that, for whatever reason, whether it's fair or not, looks at the Kansas City Chiefs and goes, we could beat them, right? Sonny's living that life right now. Sonny, you believe they could beat the Chiefs, the Ravens?
We haven't done it.
He sounds so defeated right now.
You saw it was fine at the backup.
It's like, they knew it ain't going to happen, right? Like, that's where they at with it. They sound like Steelers fans when they talk about Tom Brady, okay? But y'all ain't there. Y'all actually think y'all can beat them. And you're not being aggressive? Like, that's what's nuts to me. And I hope that in 3 years, you guys aren't looking back. Well, I kind of hope. I'm being,
as a friend,
I don't want the Bengals to win the championship, but like for Joe Burrow's sake, right? You don't want to be in a position if you are a Bengals fan where in 3 years you're saying to yourself, "Damn, we should have pushed a little bit harder there," right? Like we really were this close to being able to do it, and then you spun every year after 2021. Dicking around to the point where it's like, hey, we brought back some P run, y'all. Like, Jesus, it's like, what the fuck is this? like, how did we get here? Yeah, that's the thing with the Bengals. I just don't understand. Is man, if I feel like if 29 other teams were in your position, they would be as aggressive as possible to make something happen because they would understand the sense of urgency. And it feels like maybe they're banking on the second window with Joe Burrow already. That's a dangerous place to be with the dude who's like under 30. Like what? I don't get it. You have Jamar Chase, you have Joe Burrow. You should be way more aggressive than you are right now, especially on that defense. And that's where they've been the most passive. I've always said this: when the Bengals have a great defense, that is when they're at their most dangerous, right? That's when they almost went to a Super Bowl, almost won a Super Bowl. And ever since that year, they've been incrementally getting worse at defense, which is a surprise to me. So we'll see what happens with them. They're going to be a good team. They got Joe Burrow. They got Jamar Chase. Like, they're not going to suck or anything like that. They're not going to be in last place. That's going to be a battle for Cleveland and Pittsburgh to fight out because like we're playing musical chairs with quarterbacks right now. Russian roulette. Who you want to ruin your season? But yeah, it's puzzling. I would say they've had the most puzzling offseason that I've seen any team have in AFC North this year because there's not one thing I can go at with like, hey, at least they did this.
Yeah, no,
like, I mean, DJ Hill's not bad. Let me just, it's like, but the hey, I at least did this is like, oh, the Steelers got DK Metcalf, right? The Ravens, they kept Rodney Stanley. They brought in a wide receiver over 6 foot for the first time in like 5 years. And the Browns brought back kept Myles Garrett when everybody thought they were gonna have to trade him. And then like you go to the Bengals and they're like, hey, we brought back BJ Hill, solid rotational defensive tackle. It's like, yeah, okay, cool.
And that's the thing, man. Like you can't. Once you find the quarterback, you can't just dick around. Like you got to go balls to the wall. You got to get as much talent as you possibly can. And it's not even just that. They drafted talent. They drafted it really well. They just don't want to pay him for whatever reason. And even the Trey Hendrickson signing, when they brought him over from New Orleans, like immediately paid off. And now you're being like, for some reason, you're just being so cheap about all of your stars. It just doesn't make sense what they're doing, how they're going about their business. I feel for Bengals fans because, you know, as a fan of a team who also has like a notoriously cheap owner,
like triple B's.
Yeah, like this is, I'm getting a little bit of deja vu because like this is a team that has the capable offensive weapons, but like you don't have an ownership that's going to try to invest in proven stars. And it's like from afar, it's frustrating as a guy who like loves Joe Burrow and like wishes he wasn't in the AFC North so I could root for him a little bit more. Yeah, it's definitely frustrating from afar. Hopefully they get this stuff figured out for your sake. But when you find the quarterback, you can't just kind of throw everything on his plate. Surround him with as much talent as you possibly can, and they haven't done that.
And like this would make more sense to me if they said, all right, man, we're going to give you Jamar Chase. It's going to be bare bones at the other wide receiver positions and tight end. You're going to have to deal with young guys, but we're going to give you all the offensive line resources we can give you, and we're going to give you a bomb defense, right? Because like Joe Burrow, I think is good enough to where you could put him in that situation, and you're still going to have an offense that can get over 30 when he needs to, because I just truly believe he's that good of a quarterback. But like, there's no real direct, like they're doing this kind of offense thing, and then they're kind of doing defensive stuff, and they're kind of leaning in, and it's like they're doing half measures all over the place. And this is a team that just saw Jalen Hurts beat Kansas City. And like, no disrespect to Jalen Hurts, but if you have Joe Burrow and you've beaten Kansas City before, you should feel really good about your chance to beat Kansas City if you just build more around that team than what you have right now. And honestly, like Joe Burrow played to an MVP level last year.
Yep.
Didn't even make the playoffs. How does that not ignite a more aggressive free agency period? Because you didn't realize, hey, Joe Burrow can play out of his mind, and we were the 9 seed
and they
in the
had
AFC. Like, why in the world did that not send any kind of like, oh, we got to be a lot more aggressive here because that happened to you last year? It's puzzling, but we'll see. Maybe they're more aggressive in the draft. Maybe there's a secondary market that pops up, and they make some moves here. But for teams you expect to be a little bit more aggressive, Cincinnati was one of those teams you're looking at like, hey, they could try to swing it in position, but they've kind of sat on their hands so long that with some decisions that they're going to have to make, they're going to end up paying at least $7-8 million more than what's necessary. God forbid they let this hang on one more year with Jamar Chase, end up having to pay him 45 to 48 next year, right? Because other guys are going to come up. So yeah, just wondering where the Bengals are going and wondering if there's more moves up their sleeves, maybe a trade, because right now, as it is, it doesn't make much sense.
I just wanted to add, the Bengals did have cap space this offseason. The other thing the Bengals did, or that I would disagree here with Jared said, is the Bengals haven't drafted well lately, right? Which is one of the reasons why their defense hasn't been as good. Because all the draft pick has gone, minus Mims. I know Mims was last year, but before that, we're talking about corner, safeties, the kid that is an outside rusher that couldn't get the field over Hubbard. None of these guys have been. No, from Clemson.
Miles Murphy.
Right? None of these guys.
Oh, Zach Carter too, right?
Yeah, but
he's going.
But I'm even saying the first round, and not even the later rounds. I mean the first round. I'm not saying that they have been.
Cam Taylor-Gray, Dax Hill.
They just haven't been as good as they hoped, which has been their defense, right? So these guys should have been already like really strong starters.
Damn, Miles Murphy was a first-round pick.
Yeah, that's my point. And so none of these guys have been paying out yet. So obviously that has not.
I don't know if you could necessarily say Miles hasn't panned out. He hasn't even been on the field. Like Lou, that's one of the reasons that they moved on from Lou is Lou wasn't playing the young guys. Lou was like, I'm going to play the veterans and all of that, and that's one of the reasons he hasn't been. He was fired. But yeah, Miles hasn't shown anything. But honestly, he's gotten like 10 snaps a game. They don't even really give him a chance to do it.
But my assumption is, and maybe I'm wrong.
Hey, you know who's one of your best picks according to approximate value? Cordell Volson, 4th round.
Oh no, that's a lie. That's a lie.
Okay, we have a couple super chats here real quick. Rooster says, "Who is the new tight end in the neighborhood?" I don't even know.
New tight end in the neighborhood. I thought about this because I saw your super chat.
Wait.
It's Brock Bowers, dog. It's Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is looking for real estate in that neighborhood, bro.
Let's be real. Travis Kelce's neighborhood is starting to become a retirement community, dog.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, he's getting out of there. I think he got evicted. So I don't know what neighborhood it is right now, but Brock Bowers is looking.
It's Brock Bowers' neighborhood, and Tyler Warren's probably going to join it. And pretty much like 8 dudes from this draft class. Like
tight end heavy class.
Yeah. There's going to be a couple guys here.
Nova Stone, Tom Brady. Look at Tom is already teaching the Raiders the Brady way.
Good luck with Alex Kappa.
And then Noah also says Jared must love heartbreaks to become Bills fans.
I'm just a Josh Allen fan, man, which I guess by proxy makes me root for the Bills. But
and then Nova also said Pat melts down in playoffs when Tom has a presence.
Oh, because Tom was calling the game. That's what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of funny to think about. I think that's silly.
No,
yeah, because what Tom did all the NFC games.
Okay, let's talk Steelers. Big trade. They get DK Metcalf, 5 years, 150. They get a quarterback signing, bringing back.
Jared, can you imagine Mike Tomlin going 2 dogs, 1 bone?
Oh, Christ, bro.
And George Pickens.
I'm already tired of this. Already tired of it.
He's like 2 dogs, 1 bone.
I said when the trade happened that I think they're trading George.
Doesn't look like it.
Right now doesn't look like it. DK chose number 4.
Yeah.
He did his intro press conference today, and somebody asked him why he chose 4. He's like, it looked cool. I was like, all right, fair enough. Rule of cool is still in effect. Like to hear that. But no, I mean, he was pretty respectful. What's up?
He's holding it for when you guys trade for Deshaun next offseason.
You're sick in the head. Sick in the head.
Look, they signed Slade for $10 million.
Yeah.
Ravens' favorite backup linebacker Malik Harris, 2 years, $10 million. Yeah. Now you have 2 middle linebackers over there. Tight end Parham, 1 year. Center McCollum. Running back Gainwell, 1 year also. Rudolph, their quarterback right now, their stellar quarterback Mason Rudolph, 2 years, $8 million. They brought they're apparently they're still in contention for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers must be just trying to get more money at this point. Russell Wilson also continuing. I don't know. Is Kirk part of the deal with, or they're not even looking at Kirk?
No, I mean, I think it's going to be Rodgers at this point. It just makes they wouldn't be waiting around this long if they didn't at least have like a pretty good feeling that it would be Rodgers. I think Mason Rudolph's brought in is like, all right, yeah, we like Mason. He's a break glass in case of Aaron Rodgers decides to retire emergency, and then you just roll with him as the starter. You know, you'll at least win 9 games at that point. I mean, overall, go ahead.
How many Pat McAfee appearances before he makes his decision? I
don't know. I thought it would be like yesterday because they retweeted a thing from like 2021 where he's talking about the Steelers. I was like, all right, it's definitely happening today then, right? Like, but no, it hasn't. We'll see. I think it is going to be Rodgers though, which, you know, whatever. Outside of Justin Fields, he was my number 2 choice. I know a lot of Steelers fans have their. By the way, it makes me laugh very hard. Steelers fans, a lot of them like don't want Rodgers because of like, oh yeah, he's a weird guy. I don't agree with his stance on vaccines. Meanwhile, those same people who say that are like saying start Mason Rudolph, and he's like extremely more conservative than Aaron Rodgers is. It's just stupid why people want guys and why they don't. But like, I'm fine with Aaron. I thought they should have re-signed Fields.
The quartet get Gardner Minshew.
No, he just signed with Kansas City.
He's back up with Kansas City now.
Back up for the Chiefs. But that's another thing. Like the past few days, every bad quarterback that I saw get signed, I was like, all right, thank God it's not going to be Daniel Jones. All right, thank God it's not going to be Jacoby Brissett. All right, thank God it's not going to be insert name of bad quarter Mac Jones. Thank God.
Jameis is still there.
It's not going to be Jameis.
I was doing that too, and then Kenny Pickett came across the wire, and I was like, I didn't even think to pray about that.
So like it's going to be Rodgers. I feel pretty safe about that, and that's fine. Whatever. The thing with me was just like, don't bring back Russ because like, if they would have brought back Russell Wilson, that would have been like going to see a movie that sucked, and then going back to watch that movie again. Like it stinks. Like why are we doing this with Aaron Rodgers? I can at least be talked into like, hey, he played respectively well with the Jets last year. They didn't obviously have a good season. They went 5-12. He still had 30 touchdowns and the last month of the year looked good. And throughout the entire season, like he was largely fine. Not 4-time MVP, top 3 quarterback Aaron Rodgers, but upper half of the NFL between 12 and 15 quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, that's fine. I can live with that. It's better than any quarterback they had on the roster last year. So I can be talked into like, hey, right situation, good weapons. They can do something and maybe win a playoff game. That's cool. And if it's not Aaron, I can live with a year of Mason Rudolph. I'll always have love for Mason Rudolph because he saved me from another year of Kenny Pickett. So he's all right in my book. I'm very happy that Mason Rudolph will be more than likely the backup, barring Aaron Rodgers not joining the team. He'll be the starter. And if that does happen, I hope they trade for Joe Milton to have a fun potential eventual starter if Mason Rudolph doesn't play well. So I think quarterback position stuff, I'm cool.
Sonny, I have a future for you to imagine. Kenny Pickett plays pretty decent this year for the Cleveland Browns.
Goes back to
walks in free agency, and Pittsburgh goes. No, you know what?
It's not going to happen. He's
matured. Let's bring him back. Give him 3 years, 35.
Yeah, 35 per.
35 per $100 million contract. How's that sound to you, Jared?
No,
just when you think you're out.
I don't have to worry about that, so I'm pretty good on that. I think Ace has to dip here in a minute. Do you want to say something, Ace?
I think honestly, out of the 4 teams, I think the Steelers have had possibly the best offseason thus far. DK, I mean, that's a great pairing for him and Pickens, especially being that you guys had kind of figuring out wide receiver 2 last season. Now you got those 2. So great weapons there. If you get Aaron Rodgers, it's a temporary solution, but it's a really good temporary solution to have at that standpoint. And they're taking advantage of not having to pay the quarterback, right? So this could be year number 2 where another team takes on the large majority of the chunk, similar to Russell Wilson, and then you get Aaron Rodgers for a lesser amount and don't really have to pay that much at the position. So I think it was a good move for them. It'll be interesting to see how they replace Najee. Will we finally get to see our guy over there? What's his name? The running back that we've said has been
Jaylen Warren. Yeah, he'll be the starting running back. Yeah. They just brought in Kenneth Gainwell, who I think is going to be more than likely the 3, more of just like a change of pace scat back. They're going to draft a running back to probably contend for that number 2 spot. So I'm fine with that. Yeah, I mean, pour one out for Corporal Dasani, boots and jeans, Mr. Najee Harris going to the Los Angeles Chargers. Honestly, he'll probably fit in really well there because it's a Greg Roman offense where they run the ball and are good at doing it. He'll probably have a nice year. And I'll have to listen to
running backs with no second level burst.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they
got Gus Edwards over there. No ACL, JK.
Oh, Ravens fans killed me a couple years ago when I was like, those guys are only good because of Lamar Jackson. Now both of them are free agents.
They got both the all-time. They run a 4-what team?
Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, both free agents.
Yeah,
I didn't see that coming.
Yes.
But yeah, I think the Steelers had a great offseason thus far. We'll see where they go with the quarterback position. That's the only thing that can kill them. If they don't get Rodgers and it's just a murky situation at quarterback, that's the only thing. But I think Rodgers will end up going there.
I think so too. And then obviously like the big trade with DK, that's, I lit up when I saw it. You get, at the time I said, all right, well, they're probably going to trade George. I still wouldn't be surprised if they did. If they sign somebody like Cooper Kupp, then I would be like, all right, I feel like they might move off George because I don't think they're going to pay both of them. They could, we've seen plenty of teams do it. The Eagles have done it. The Dolphins have done it. You can pay 2 receivers and whatnot, especially if they're not going to pay big money to a quarterback and they're likely going to draft one next year. So that's fine.
What is the window for Pittsburgh, though? That's the only question I have.
No, there's not a window open right now for a championship. Some people might not want to hear that, but that's just what it is right now, is that like I'm not entering this year with like Super Bowl hopes. I'm entering this year like hopefully they can win a playoff game. That's where my level of expectation is.
What is the goal here for Pittsburgh over the short term, like next couple of years?
I think
DK helps them accomplish.
The goal there would be they're absolutely trading up for a quarterback in next year's draft. Where they have so many comp picks coming in this year. They're going to get a 3rd-round comp for Justin Fields. They'll get, I think, a 4th-round comp for Najee Harris and a couple other day 3 ones from other guys that left. So they're going to have a lot of compensatory picks in the 2026 draft. They'll use some of that ammo to try to trade up for whoever, whatever quarterback that may be, whether it's Arch, whether it's Drew Aller. They'll find a guy that they like. They'll try to trade up for him, and that's, I think, what their goal is going to be. And then right there, you have George Pickens, DK Metcalf, hopefully a 3rd guy that they bring in with ready-made weapons around him rather than just bringing in a quarterback in a bad situation. So
If Shador falls to you guys at like 20, are you guys thinking about it? Or
oh no, I mean if Shador falls there, then they'll take him. But I just don't see that that's going to happen. Nor do I subscribe to the take Jackson Dart at 21 camp like a lot of other people. Like, what the hell? What are we doing, dude? Like, come on now. This is SEC Zach Wilson.
Wondering what the next Kenny Pickett meme picture would be? It would be us if the Steelers took Jackson Dart.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, if he's available on the 3rd or 4th and you want to take Jackson Dart, whatever. Like, I'm not going to love it, but sure, whatever. Do your thing. But no, I think they are committed to just having somebody come in for this year. It'll be Rodgers, try to end this playoff drought, and then in 2026, move up in the draft, take one of those big name quarterbacks and hope that he's the answer. Which, you know what, I can get on board with. You're not just going to have a franchise quarterback fall in your lap. It's very rare that one of those guys just becomes available. I thought that they should have re-signed Justin. Obviously, the Jets were willing to pay more than they were. I'm still a little bit annoyed about it because I'm, very unapologetically a Justin Fields guy, but I understand. Whatever, it's business. Things happen. So now you get Rodgers. You go forward through this year. Hopefully, I've said this for a while. If you're going to be mediocre, at least be fun, chaotic mediocre. Don't be boring mediocre. Like, at least. Holy nuts! That was loud, wasn't it? At least give me fun, chaotic. Yeah, no, I get it. If you're gonna just be 10-7, at least be chaotic 10-7. Give me Aaron Rodgers. Selfishly, I just want to.
If you have Rodgers, Pickens, and Metcalf, you're gonna be chaotic.
Yeah, I mean, there's always potential for a crash out there. So I'm intrigued to see what'll happen. Selfishly, I just want to talk to Aaron Rodgers during OTAs and minicamp. So this is very much what I'm excited for.
The only thing I see is like with those 3 guys on the team, if you have a couple of games, like the first month of the season, let's say you have one of those years where it's like you definitely lose 3 or 4 games more because like just shit doesn't go your way.
Right.
And then that's going to get a little tenuous.
I mean, the Jets just had one of those years. Like they were in position to win more games than they did. And a lot of those things just, kind of led to what they dealt with. So I think that bringing in Rodgers,
franchise decided they would rather be in the 40 million guaranteed for Justin Fields business.
Right. I think that bringing in Rodgers, they'll go 10-7. They'll get back to the playoffs. Depending on who they face, they can perhaps win it. Obviously, that's looking way ahead till next January, and that's a long way from now, and a lot of different factors factoring in. But I think at minimum they'll be a 9-win team. At maximum, they'll be a wild card team with a chance to win a playoff game, and I'll be happy for that. Other signings like Malik Harrison, I don't care. Like he's going to be the 4th linebacker behind Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, Cole Holcomb. I just don't. Maybe, yeah.
Damn well the Steelers go do that thing where week 4 comes along, and you're like, I don't know why they're having Malik Harrison cover slot receivers.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll yell about that at some point. Darius Slay, like that's a good signing. He's still playing good ball. He's 34, and I don't love like this continuous thing where they just have 1-year stopgaps at CB2 because they did it with Levi Wallace, they did it with Ahkello Witherspoon, they did it with Patrick Peterson, and they did it last year with Dante Jackson. So like I don't love that whole strategy when it comes to the cornerback room. But Darius Slay still playing good football. He'll be there for a year to help mentor Corey Trice. They also signed Brandon Eccles from the Jets, who will be like their 3rd corner or potentially their starting slot corner, depending on what they do when it comes to a potential competition with him and Beanie Bishop. So they're making good moves that I'm not at all upset about. The only one where I was like, what the hell are they doing was the Malik Harrison thing because it doesn't make sense. Like I don't understand why they brought him in. Letting Landon Roberts walk was like, I love Landon Roberts. He's a great fit for what they do. But again, it gives them a comp pick, and in the grand scheme of things, Landon Roberts isn't going to put them over the top. So wish him well in Vegas. Who else have they lost? James Daniels is a Dolphin. I think, that's a good signing for Miami to get them a little bit more interior protection.
Linebackers from Pittsburgh and Vegas, don't they?
They do. Yeah. Well, Cheddar Bob Spillane is now in New England. So, they had to replace him with another former Steeler. I get it.
Yeah.
So
around him.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who else is no longer there. Yeah, Dante Jackson's also a Charger, so 2 former Steelers going to the Chargers. Van Jefferson's a Titan. But today they re-signed Scotty Miller and Ben Skoranek, #ExcitingWhites. So, that's always nice to have.
Wait, the Steelers?
The Steelers did, yeah. So both Skoranek and Scotty Miller are back. Skoranek will be the special teams gunner, and if somebody gets hurt at receiver, he'll get some more snaps. Scotty Miller, depth guy, potentially practice squad. So, nothing's going to blow you away, but obviously the DK Metcalf trade is the big thing, and then eventually when we get the notification that Aaron Rodgers is a Steeler, that's when we'll get a lot more clarity for what the offseason looks like. I feel all right. Yeah, I was upset about the Justin Fields thing. Now you just got to move forward with the likelihood that it's going to be Rodgers and hope for the best and hope for this playoff drought to end. So we shall see. But I'm on board with Aaron Rodgers. I've been one of the very few people who have been like, yeah, I'm cool with Aaron Rodgers. Everybody else seems to be very not cool with it.
I just think it's the perception. I think that's that's what's beating everybody's ass this off season when it comes to quarterback is so many people have because they built these perceptions while they were still perceived to be superstar quarterbacks.
Yeah.
People kind of bring that shit onto them. But this is a lesson I learned with Russ last year. I assumed all that shit would be carrying off to him. But Russell Wilson, when he's making $40 million, is a very different thing than Russell Wilson when he's making $1 million, right? It's just a different context that we're not used to viewing him in. I think something similar is happening with Kirk, where people are like, oh, acting like that'd be the worst thing in the world for Cleveland if they have to play Kirk Cousins. But I'm going to be honest with you, it'd be a significant upgrade to what they had at quarterback last year.
Sure.
Would it be exciting? Hell no. But, it'd be better than what they had last year and give them a better chance to win more games. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers, right? The brand name is a bit tainted. There's other baggage there, but Pittsburgh's not New York from a media market standpoint. Yeah, it's not going to be as contentious.
It's not going to be a firestorm. Everything's not going to be under this ginormous microscope. It's a lot more of just I think a small market is what Aaron Rodgers benefits more from. I think that's why it works so long in Green Bay. It's just because it's Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's not New York City where everything you do is just at the center of attention.
Well, I think it seems like Aaron went under a personal change too during his time in Green Bay.
Yeah,
but it's just it's not going to be that big of a deal. I think a lot of reacting to the brand names here, even myself with the Kenny Pickett thing, it's hilarious, but it's if he's a backup, it's okay, he's just the backup on the Super Bowl team,
right?
So he can more than hold that role down. But yeah, I think that's what's really beating everybody's ass is that we keep viewing these guys who were former superstars in that context of if they're still that guy or if they're still worth treating them like that guy. And the answer is hell no on all of these guys. But if you start viewing them as what they are, stopgap bridge solutions, we're gonna sit here and shit on Aaron Rodgers as a bridge,
right?
It's a phenomenal bridge,
exactly.
Right?
That's the Golden Gate Bridge right there is what you have in Pittsburgh. It's just the best bridge you can possibly get.
Yeah, it's it's fine, and then you have Pittsburgh there. You assume that they're not gonna let the locker room burn to shit because Aaron Rodgers is there. That's the whole reason you have Mike Tomlin there. And there's always been that weird love affair between Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin.
For sure. Yeah.
Should be fine there.
And look, he's walking around on a beach wrapped in a blanket with headphones that still have a cord in them, which I think is very funny. I'm very much team earbuds with cord. I just think it's silly that Aaron, who has more money than God, is also on team headphones with cord. Maybe that's what it is. I didn't think of that. Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's a good point.
It might be a hipster thing.
It could just be that
point.
We are, but no, I think overall good offseason so far. Getting DK is big for the future of the team and the future quarterback who is going to be there long term. And if they can find a way to have George Pickens kind of calm down a little bit and become a little bit more mature, and they do decide they want to pay him, that's great. I don't foresee that happening. But for the time being, you got two really solid deep ball receivers who are good after the catch, and I can be talked into a potential playoff win if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback.
By the way, that quarterback room 100% will put all my money on the number one most listened to podcast being the Joe Rogan Experience. that quarterback room going to sound like the Joe Rogan Experience.
Bro, Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph are going to get along just fine.
Oh, yeah. They're going to have a lot of conversations about things.
There's going to be a lot of conspiracy theory conversations going on. Again, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is like a conservative guy. I think he's just a little bit of he's more of the conspiracy side of things.
He's a wacky guy. That's why I'm like, that's why it's going to sound like the Joe Rogan experience, right?
Yeah.
Joe Rogan, kind of a wacky guy.
Sure.
And then staunch conservative.
It's going to be a good time. And then Skylar Thompson is also there.
Yeah, just Davey or whatever the dude works.
Yeah.
Pull that shit up.
So, guys, obviously we are back in the offseason. So you have to stay tuned. You have to subscribe and hit the bell. We're going to be coming back. We're going to be doing mock drafts. We're going to be talking about future picks for each team. So stay tuned to the channel. Make sure again to subscribe, hit the bell. Any signings that we come, we'll do the weekly show. We're not doing twice a week now during the offseason. It's just a weekly show. But again, stay tuned, hit that bell so you can join us when we come live. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace out.